Your turn for a question.
Didn't I? My turn. When I first heard about you, I told the story today. It was a student at the North American College in Rome when I was bemoaning the fact that we were so bad, we Christians, at battling the new atheists. And he said, well, have you heard about this William Lane Craig fellow? And at the time I had not. And he said, oh, well, you got to watch him. He really can do it. So I did, and was very attracted to his approach. And what struck me was, here's a Protestant, here's an evangelical, but who's using what I identified as a very Catholic approach to use natural theology, I would say, and especially God argumentation, which is associated probably more with people like Thomas Aquinas and others. And that's what really struck me was, well, here's a Protestant, but using a rather Catholicizing method. So I've always been intrigued by that relationship between you and Catholicism. I know through Geisler you had that training in Thomism.
Yeah, that's true. I was trained under a Thomist
so you had an exposure.
Natural theology.
Yeah, you had an exposure to it. So that leads to my question, which is, I was thinking of asking, well, why aren't you a Catholic? But I thought it'd be a little too blunt, you know. So maybe I just rephrase it this way: is what, if anything, is there in Catholicism that especially beguiles you or attracts you or says, yeah, that's really worthwhile? And then maybe what in Catholicism most sort of puzzles you and concerns you?
Wow. I suppose the most attractive thing would be the ancient history of the church and this long, great tradition that extends all the way back to the Greek apologists and the church fathers. Yeah. But there are so many things that Roman Catholics believe that I just don't believe. And I couldn't become a Catholic even if I wanted to, because I just don't believe those things. You know, I don't believe that Mary was immaculately conceived or ascended into heaven or assumed into heaven. I do think that justification is a forensic declaration on God's part. And I have well, boy, I'm starting to talk about all these differences now that I don't want to talk about.
A little bit, that's okay.
But so, you know, I want to defend and champion the mere Christianity that is common to Catholics, Protestant, Orthodox, and Coptics. And it's been a thrill for me to meet Orthodox Christians around the world, Coptic Christians, who say, we're using your material, we're thankful for reasonable faith, and my heart rejoices in seeing that, even if I feel very comfortable in being a Protestant myself.
No, and I appreciate that, and I'm very sympathetic, too, to the kind of mere Christianity approach. I think is very useful today, and I've been very influenced by Lewis, so I very much sympathize with that. But I was intrigued by the sort of Catholicizing element, at least in the apologetic strategy.
Yes, and that is true. I appreciate the great apologists of the past, and I've often said that my approach is a classic approach of doing natural theology and then Christian evidences. You know, Aquinas had the signs of credibility that would attend the truths of faith, and these were miracle and fulfilled prophecy. Yeah. Well, the resurrection of Jesus is the premier New Testament miracle, and although as a medieval theologian who lacked the historical method, he couldn't give evidence for the historicity of the resurrection, we are much better situated today. We have better grounds historically for believing in Jesus' resurrection than these early medievals and church fathers did, who didn't have the historiographical tools to study these things. So I'm very much in sympathy with the framework of that approach.
Yeah, good.